What's a weird job that quietly makes people rich? Story 1. So this dude explained piano tuning to me one time, and I swear I thought he was bullshitting me. Like, come on, man. You're telling me there's people out here making dentist money by walking into churches and aggressively listening to Middle C for an hour? Get the hell out of here. But nope. Apparently, piano tuners are drowning in work because nobody under 70 even realizes it's a career. Dude said he charges like $150 an hour and still turns people away. Meanwhile, I know 3 guys with marketing degrees fighting raccoons behind a Buffalo Wild Wings over DoorDash orders. Life is fake. And the thing that kills me is how many random places secretly have pianos. Hotels, airports, nursing homes, weird little theaters that smell like mildew and old soup. Every church somehow got a haunted upright piano sitting in a corner collecting dust and trauma. Plus, rich parents forcing Braden or McKenna into piano lessons they absolutely do not want. Those pianos still gotta get tuned even if the kid only knows the first 6 notes of Fur Elise before rage quitting. I actually looked into it for like 2 days because I got excited. I pictured myself rolling into fancy concert halls with a little tuning hammer like some musical gunslinger. Thought maybe this was my escape from corporate hell. Then I watched an actual tuner work and immediately realized I have the auditory precision of a drunk raccoon crashing through a dumpster. Guy was hearing microscopic sound waves shift, and I'm over here thinking my AirPods sound basically fine after going through the washing machine twice. Story 2. I met a guy who literally picks up dog poop for a living, and at first I laughed because obviously, that sounds like the fake job your cousin invents after getting fired from Best Buy. But then he casually started talking numbers, and I stopped laughing real fast. Dude works like 3 or 4 days a week, has a waiting list of clients, and charges enough money that I briefly had to respect the entire operation against my will. And honestly, the older I get, the more I understand it. People are exhausted. Everybody's overworked, under-rested, spiritually defeated by emails. You think some lawyer billing $300 an hour wants to spend Saturday morning crouched in wet grass, hunting little landmines, while their labradoodle stares at them like a war criminal? Absolutely not. They'll pay somebody else immediately. Modern society is basically just rich, tired people paying other tired people to do gross tasks. The funniest part is apparently reliability is everything. If you show up consistently and don't ghost clients because Mercury is in retrograde or your podcast career took priority, people love you. Dude said some customers practically treat him like family because nobody else wants to deal with literal piles of crap every week, which honestly feels like a metaphor for adulthood in general. And you know what? Respect. That man found a way to monetize the one chore every dog owner secretly hates. Somewhere right now, there's a golden retriever creating passive income for another grown adult. And honestly, that's the American dream. Story 3. I knew a guy who did crime scene and trauma cleanup for a while, and the money was insane, which honestly tracks because absolutely nobody grows up thinking, when I'm older, I hope I get called into motel rooms at 2 a.m. with industrial disinfectant and emotional damage. That's not exactly career day material. Guidance counselors really skipped over that one. But the wild part is how much of the job wasn't actually murder scenes. Everybody hears crime scene cleanup and immediately imagines some CSI episode with dramatic music and sunglasses. Nah, apparently it was mostly sad regular life stuff. Elderly people dying alone, highway accidents at horrible hours, hoarder homes where the floor situation becomes more of a philosophical concept than a physical surface. Hotel rooms where you know somebody at the front desk is saying maintenance issue instead of explaining the actual horror unfolding upstairs. And dude said the overnight shift completely fried his sense of reality. Imagine clocking out at 6 a.m. after scrubbing human tragedy off a motel carpet, then eating pancakes at Denny's under fluorescent lights while a tired waitress refills your coffee. Like, none of this is weird. That feels like the kind of moment that permanently changes your brain chemistry. Like, there's no way you come back from a mozzarella stick basket after cleaning up a fatal highway accident without developing some extremely dark humor. That's the thing, too. People in jobs like that become unintentionally hilarious because otherwise the sadness would flatten them into dust. You either learn to joke about the absolute chaos of humanity, or you mentally dissolve. And apparently, the pay reflects that reality. Nobody wants to do it, the hours are brutal, and when people need you, they really need you immediately. Honestly, though, massive respect. Society quietly depends on people willing to handle the worst moments imaginable while everybody else pretends those moments don't exist. Story 4. I heard about a dude making like 200 grand a year delivering bread in a small town, and honestly, that information made me physically angry for a minute. Because somewhere right now, there are people with MBAs trapped in 6 Zoom meetings a day discussing consumer engagement strategy, while Bread King Gary is done working by lunchtime and headed home in cargo shorts with 0 unread emails. Life is a scam, and apparently, this wasn't even some grindset entrepreneur nonsense either. Dude literally tried to hand the business over to somebody, like, "Here, son, come learn the routes, meet the store owners. I'll show you everything." That's basically the economic equivalent of finding buried treasure with a map attached. And the brother-in-law said no, because waking up at 4 a.m. sounded too hard. I'm sorry, but I would think about that mistake every single night before bed for the rest of my life. That's the kind of thing that randomly attacks your brain at age 47 while washing dishes. Damn, I could have been the bread baron. And honestly, the early morning root life sounds weirdly peaceful. Empty roads, gas station coffee, little routine stops where everybody knows you, grocery store managers greeting you like a local celebrity because you brought carbohydrates. Meanwhile, the rest of society hasn't even started screaming at traffic yet. People massively underestimate how much money exists in boring systems everybody relies on daily. Bread has to show up every morning. Humanity becomes violently unstable without convenient sandwich access. That man basically monetized civilization's dependency on toast and somehow built a tiny flour-based empire out of it. Story 5. I found out tugboat pilots can make $500,000 to $1 million a year, and I genuinely had to sit in silence for a minute, staring at the wall like my ancestors failed me. Because why did school spend 12 straight years preparing me for standardized tests, instead of mentioning there are maritime warlords out here making surgeon money by aggressively parallel parking floating warehouses? And the craziest part is nobody even sees these people. Tugboats are like background NPCs in society. You glance at one for 2 seconds near a harbor, and your brain goes, "Yep, that's a boat all right," before immediately moving on with your life. Meanwhile, Captain Dieselbeard is quietly invoicing more money in a month than most people see in years, because global trade apparently depends on his ability to thread a giant steel rectangle through narrow waterways without accidentally recreating the Exxon Valdez situation, which honestly makes sense when you think about the stakes. One mistake, and suddenly there's millions of dollars of cargo sideways in a port, while 20 executives simultaneously begin stress vomiting. You can't just download an app and replace that guy. You need somebody who knows every inch of the local waterways by memory. Currents, wind, tides, weird little harbor quirks. Probably knows exactly which dock smells suspicious in July too. Maritime wizardry. And tugboat guys have unbelievable energy. Every one of them probably looks like they either survived 3 divorces or can tie knots that haven't been invented yet. There's no middle ground. I imagine conversations with them feel like listening to a sea captain from 1948 rant about weather patterns while drinking coffee strong enough to remove paint. Honestly though, respect. That's one of those hidden jobs where the paycheck sounds fake until you realize international commerce would collapse instantly if experienced pilots disappeared tomorrow. Somewhere out there, a tugboat captain is making 7 figures while I still get nervous trying to reverse into a Costco parking spot. Story 6. Nothing snaps your brain in half faster than realizing some megachurch pastors are living like Marvel villains with tax exemptions. You grow up thinking pastors are humble dudes eating casserole and folding chairs after Sunday service, then suddenly you see one on TV with perfect teeth, a $4,000 suit, and a private jet explaining why God apparently needs him to avoid commercial flights because demons hang out in economy class. Which is an insane sentence. Human beings actually allowed into reality, and the craziest part is how smoothly the whole operation scales. Regular church, potluck dinners, burnt coffee, somebody's aunt playing piano slightly off-tempo. Mega church, full concert lighting rig, merch store, security teams with earpieces, a fog machine for Jesus somehow. At that point, you're not even attending church anymore. You're at a spiritually themed TED Talk sponsored by capitalism. And look, I know some pastors genuinely do good work. Community outreach, helping people, all that. But the megachurch celebrity level is where things start feeling like a deleted subplot from HBO, especially when the sermon's about humility and the pastor leaves in a convoy nicer than most senators. The private jet thing specifically destroys people psychologically because there are literal brain surgeons flying Southwest Boarding Group C While Pastor Thunderhawk is landing a Gulf Stream because donations were apparently strong this quarter, imagine donating your grocery money and later seeing the guy who received it explaining prosperity gospel from a leather seat, worth more than your neighborhood. And honestly, the wildest part is the confidence. You have to respect it at a certain level. Standing in front of thousands of people, basically saying, God wants me financially thriving, while dressed like a luxury real estate agent requires unimaginable levels of charisma. Meanwhile, regular people feel guilty buying guacamole at Chipotle because it costs extra. Story 7. Biomedical equipment tech might be the most wait, that's a job career I've ever heard of. Like somebody really looked at a hospital MRI machine worth $12 million and said, yeah, we should probably have a guy whose entire job is stopping this thing from making haunted printer noises. And apparently that guy is making fantastic money indoors with air conditioning, while half the population is outside destroying their knees for less pay. Unreal. The funniest part is every biomedical tech I've met sounds like they accidentally wandered into the career after being the kid who took apart the Xbox and somehow put it back together. That specific kind of person. The human raccoon brain curiosity build. Meanwhile, my dumb ass took apart a toaster once and created a small electrical incident that probably shortened my lifespan. And honestly, hospitals must love these people because modern medicine is basically held together by machines that beep aggressively. If an X-ray machine dies or some operating room equipment suddenly starts throwing error codes, everybody immediately starts panic speed walking. Somewhere there's a surgeon staring at a frozen monitor, while a biomedical tech strolls in holding coffee like, all right, what did this stupid thing do now? The sweet spot is crazy too. It's technical enough to pay well, but not in that soul-crushing Silicon Valley way, where your entire life becomes Jira tickets and emotional numbness. You get normal business hours mostly, decent benefits, air conditioning, job security because older techs are retiring, and enough variety to not lose your mind. Plus, hospitals are basically giant mechanical ecosystems constantly breaking in weird creative ways because humans are chaotic, and machines apparently absorb that energy over time. The only part I know would stress me out is working around actual patience. Like, imagine trying to calmly troubleshoot a machine while somebody's grandma is staring at you, hoping you know what you're doing. I'd immediately forget every piece of information I've ever learned. Brain would fully blue screen. Have you tried unplugging the patient and plugging them back in? Actually, no, don't write that down. Story 8. A dude told me he fixes elevators for a living and made $187,000 last year, and I swear my soul left my body for a second. Because meanwhile, society acts like if you don't become a lawyer, surgeon, or tech bro who drinks mushroom coffee in a standing desk bunker, you're doomed financially. Nah. Turns out the real money is hidden inside weird infrastructure jobs nobody thinks about until they stop working. And honestly, elevator mechanics deserve every cent. Because elevators are horrifying when you really think about them. We all just casually step into a metal box hanging by cables and pray physics stays employed that day. The second an elevator makes one weird noise, everybody immediately starts bargaining with God. So when those things break in office towers or hospitals, oh buddy, somebody is cutting a giant check to get elevator wizard Mike out there immediately. And apparently the union pay is insane over time. 2. Emergency calls, certifications, specialized repair stuff nobody else knows how to do, plus half the older guys are retiring, so there's not enough people coming in. That's the secret sauce right there. America accidentally convinced an entire generation that working with your hands meant failure. So now every niche trade is basically printing money for competent people who show up consistently. I actually considered it for like 10 minutes until I watched a video of a mechanic climbing on top of an elevator car inside the shaft and immediately went, absolutely the hell not. My anxiety could never. I'd be up there sweating through my shirt, imagining my obituary reading, died fixing the Hilton Garden Inn elevator, while a family from Ohio waited downstairs holding Cheesecake Factory leftovers. Story 9. I found out UPS drivers can make absolutely stupid money, and it completely shattered the little follow your passion speech they fed us in school. Because while everybody was getting pushed toward unpaid internships and personal branding, some dude in brown shorts quietly figured out he could make 180,000 driving boxes around the country while listening to classic rock and eating sunflower seeds at truck stops. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And honestly, UPS drivers are built different. That job sounds simple until you actually watch them work. Those people move with the intensity of Navy SEALs during the holidays, sprinting packages to porches, reversing giant trucks into spaces that look mathematically impossible, somehow remembering 900 addresses while surviving entirely on caffeine and gas station beef jerky. During Christmas season, they basically become seasonal cryptids. You just see a blur of brown fabric and hear someone yell, "Have a good one," before disappearing into another neighborhood. The over-the-road guys especially sound like they unlocked some hidden economic class, just stacking miles and overtime until the paycheck starts looking fake. Meanwhile, somebody with a communications degree is crying in a shared apartment because their entry-level corporate job requires 5 years of experience and pays in pizza parties. And the funniest part is UPS dudes always genuinely love the job. Every time I meet one, they've got this weird, peaceful confidence. Like, yeah, the hours can suck, and your knees probably sound like microwave popcorn by age 45, but there's something satisfying about physical work where you actually finish things. No endless email chains, no pretending to look busy while moving charts around PowerPoint slides. Just truck full of boxes becomes truck without boxes. Human brain likes that. Also, there's something deeply American about making 200 grand delivering random nonsense people panic bought online at 1 a.m. Somewhere out there, a UPS driver is funding his retirement because I needed a new phone charger, and somebody else ordered a 6-foot Halloween skeleton in July.